My name is Sherry Setfor, and today I'm going to do my presentation on the effect of different cultures in a business environment. I'm pretty sure that we have all been in some situation or another where what we perceived or what we expected to take place or transpire in that particular business environment really was not the case, right? Yeah, I figured that you would say that. And the reason that this has sparked so much interest for me is because of just the working environments that I have been in over the last couple of jobs that I've had. One in particular, I always like to tell the story because my previous job, while I was working at a financial institution, every single person in this particular job was different. But this made for a very interesting bunch. And not only that, we were able to all put all of our experience together and all of our knowledges and all of our differences from the different cultures. And we did an awesome job. This company was very successful. And I always brag on the fact that when I started as the manager at this particular organization, we were number 10. When I left this particular company, we were number 3. And the reason that this is a big deal for me is because everyone got together and we just used the skills that we had as well as the cultural differences that we had, and we used that to our advantage. Now, one thing that you will get from this presentation, you will understand the importance of educating yourself on different cultures. You'll also understand the importance of knowing how different cultures and individuals involved in those cultures, how they work and how they interact. The way that things used to be, I can honestly say that that way is no longer. You know, years and years and years ago, you would go into a business or an organization and you would probably just see one certain type of classification. There was no cultural mix. There was no such thing. It was absolutely unheard of. But today, with all of the globalization and businesses going overseas, the bottom line is we have got to get in where we fit in, as we say, because either we're going to conform with the norm, not the norm that it used to be yesterday, but the norm of what it is today. We're going to get involved in these businesses and understand why so many different organizations are spending all this money to try to educate their team members and their employees on the process of actually learning the importance of different cultural backgrounds. Now, one thing that I must say, like with the globalization, how companies are going overseas. Like when we go overseas, we pretty much have to get involved or just educate ourselves and do things the way that these particular companies are doing their business, right? But over here in America, by us being such a diverse culture, you may see all different kinds of people and you're going to react or interact with all different types of different cultures. Now, one thing that I like to mention is you can find this diversity not only just in your work environment, but pretty much in just in your everyday way of living. Like there's this certain area in South St. Louis over by Tower Grove, and this area is so diverse. But just to do business over in this particular area, you're gonna run into a great deal of cultures. I always say like um, there's the African community, and then there's the Asian community. There's a gay community over there, over in South St. Louis, and there's a Mexican community. But all of us are right there together, and we don't separate ourselves. But if you go from one block, you might see the Mexicans. If you go another block, you might see the Asians. And it's just so interesting to see how we all get together and how we learn to accommodate each other's needs. That is one of the most important things that we have to learn right now in today's business. Because any other way, we're not going to make it. I can guarantee you, if you do not educate yourself on the different cultures and the importance of the cultures and the way that we all run and the way that we interact, your business is not going to thrive. And the bottom line is, in business, we are only interested in the bottom line. Like I was mentioning earlier, this particular company or financial institution that I was working for, it was myself, and I was the only African American there, and I just so happened to be in a management position. I had a Russian teller. This teller of mine was really, really relaxed, but he was highly educated. He knew a lot. He could speak several different languages, and by this being a community-based bank, he was able to deal and will in a whole lot of situations where I was unable to do. I mean, some of those situations I was unable to even involve in because, for one, I didn't have the knowledge of the different cultures and the way that they interact and the perception that they receive from an African American woman. However, he was able to provide that knowledge to me. I had an Indian woman, and just to learn, like the financial service rep, how this lady was so affectionate and how she embraced our customers. Well, I was really more standoff because for me, I always felt like affection was just the wrong thing to do, especially in a business. And the reason being, in all the type of affection from what I've learned in the positions that I've held in the corporate world, you don't hug, you don't touch because it causes problems. Whereas this Indian employee of mine was all about like the proper way to meet, proper greeting, and on a whole lot of situations, they hugged, she would embrace you, and it was no big deal. Then I had my Bosnian lady who I left out of this company calling my sister because when it was time to get down to business, this lady was about the business. She dressed a little inappropriate for a work environment, a corporate environment, but when it was time to work, she was all about it. So it was myself, African American, a Russian teller, a Bosnian teller who I promoted and made her my assistant, my Indian financial service rep, and my Caucasian financial service rep, as well as my Caucasian lady VP. Together, we band together, brought in all of our cultural differences, our way of life, culture, the characteristics of our societies, and we came together and made that company exactly what it should have been, or we actually enhanced what it was. Again, taking it from number 10 and bringing it down to number 3. We did a really, really good job. And that's just the thing that people are, these organizations, these CEOs and directors, one of the main reasons that they're spending money the way that they are to educate all of us on process, because we're looking at the bottom line. We're all about taking these small companies and making them bigger. And you can see this in, like with the companies Ford, and you have Starbucks, family names, McDonald's. They used to be an American-based company. How these companies are now doing business over in China. They're expanding over in Asia because it's important to tap into these other markets. So this is another reason that we have to learn not just about our culture, because our culture is not going to be the only thing that is important. Yes, when these individuals from different countries, China, Asian, Nigeria, Japan, when they come over here, France, we do say when they're over in our area that they conform to our rules and our regulations. But if we don't know their background, it could be intimidating to them, our certain approach. If we don't understand them and their like even things as big or as small as the religious can cause problems. So it is very important that we learn the nature, the characteristics, educate ourselves on the different cultures and the environments. Wouldn't you say so? I figured you would. Wouldn't you? I figured you would. So I took the time and doing all my research online, 100,000 entries, 100,000 websites and blogs and comments, all on cultural diversity in a work environment. Even just the education this semester, for example, what I was able to find. Even in the dictionary, culture is missed, is put in this dictionary like 5 times with different definitions behind it. One of my other books, Culture, Leadership, is all in this book and how important it is. My globalization book is very important. It talks about how the businesses are surviving and why the culture is so important. What is culture? We're spending tons of money on this stuff. Leadership, even in this particular book, this particular class, culture, the diversity is mentioned in this book so many times. Not just that, I figured if it's mentioned here, it's everywhere. And companies are spending a lot of time preparing our team members, our employees, our CEOs, our communities on the importance of the cultural differences in the workplace so that these small things that we tend to take for granted about the way and societies of other people that are a little different than the norm, or why it is so important that we understand what's going on, because the bottom line is all about that bottom line. So what I would just suggest to each one of you, educate yourself on the process of business, educate yourself on the different cultures and how things as small as a meeting over in Japan, how that would affect um, the outlook or the bottom line of your business, how the attire for American women, how that could affect the bottom line of your business, how gift giving and how turning down even a meal from Nigeria could affect your bottom line in business. And it's very important because, again, and I cannot iterate on this enough, it's about the bottom line. And the way of yesterday and the culture differences is a way that is no longer. Culture and a diverse environment in our businesses and our workforce is here to stay. Thank you. My name is Sherry Safour. Is there any questions?